Yo, what up guys, Ross Scalps here, and in this video we're going to be reviewing A Haunting in Venice. Now I just want to say this, I'm not someone who's too familiar with this franchise. Apparently this is the third movie in a trilogy. You have the Death on the Nile and then Murder on the Orient Express, I believe. And those two movies came before and I have not watched them. So this is basically just a random casual viewer going to watch A Haunting in Venice. With no prior information or recollection or anything to the other two movies that came before it. In my opinion, this movie was, it was decent. So basically this movie is about a guy named Hercule who goes to a haunted palazzo in Italy and he attempts to solve the murder mystery. That's basically the plot, like right there. He just goes there on Halloween night and he tries to solve this murder. Now, like I said, I haven't watched the other two movies before this, so I don't even know who he was, you know? I didn't know anything about this. I thought this was just a standalone film. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect coming into this. But like I said, this movie was decent, and let me start going into some of the pros. So one of the first things that I enjoyed was the pacing of the movie. I felt like it did a pretty good job of keeping you invested throughout most of it. Even though it wasn't perfect, but compared to some of the other movies I've been watching recently, I'd say this one wasn't too bad. And it kind of kept you invested for the most part. Another thing that I liked was the camera work. I'm not going to say I necessarily loved it, but it was different and something that I haven't really seen in a while. I feel like, I don't know, it's just the angles that they used and some of the shots that they did. I thought it was different. So I'm not going to say I loved it, but I thought it was cool that it was like a different take on like the camera work and stuff. Another thing that I'm not going to say I liked about this movie, but that was unexpected for me, was the amount of jump scares in here. About like maybe a little less than halfway in, they start giving you some jump scares, and it keeps going till the very end. And they're actually done fairly well. I didn't think this movie would be something like that, have those kind of horror type elements, but there was a few scenes. There was one, maybe two in particular, that's like, they were pretty good. They're placed pretty good. Like I said, I didn't know this was going to be a horror movie, at least to that element, but that was something that I wasn't expecting, and that added another bit of like flavor to this movie. Alright, now for some of the cons of this movie. Now the cons that I have aren't really huge, they're just more like nitpicky, because overall the film wasn't like necessarily bad, but it wasn't necessarily like really good or great. So it's kind of somewhere in that middle line, and so I would say the plot, the story, like it's solid, but at the same time it's like not as suspenseful as you maybe want it to be. There's elements and there's times where you are like feeling suspensed, but those moments, you know, I feel like they don't last that long. They could have done maybe a better job with the story element, story-wise. Another con about this movie is that it's an hour and 40 minutes, but I feel like they could have shaved a little bit of time off. You know, I was entertained for the most part. You know, I was invested, but there were some periods where there's just a bunch of dialogue and you're just like just waiting for the story to keep going, at least in my opinion. But overall, I mean, this movie, I'd say it was a solid movie. Nothing great, nothing bad. Just an overall, you know, decent movie. Alright, so for A Haunting in Venice, I'm going to have to give action a 5 out of 10. Now, you'd think there wouldn't be much action in a murder horror mystery, but there was actually a fight scene in there, and along with that, I'll count the jump scares as type of action. There was a good amount of jump scares, like I said, and I'll add that to the action. So with the fight scene and those jump scares, you'll combine it to about a 5 out of 10. Next will be the emotion, and honestly I feel like it's like a 3 out of 10. There's really no emotion. Maybe like there's a few scenes here or there where if you're really invested to this story, it could get you to tear up possibly. But for me, I didn't feel that way. For suspense in the movie, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. I think the movie did a fairly good job keeping you suspensed, and keeping you kind of engaged in the story. But there were also times where it kind of just like the suspense went away and you're just a bunch of dialogue and stuff. but overall I'd say like a 6 out of 10. Pacing in this movie, I'll have to give it a 7. Compared to some of the other things I've watched, the pacing was good in this. They do a pretty good job for the most part of just keeping you invested in the movie and keeping the story rolling. But like I said, there are some dull moments in there that kind of, I'm not going to say leave you bored, but you know, it's just not as entertaining as other parts in the movie. And for plot in the movie, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10. I think the story was fairly good, but it wasn't anything exceptional. It wasn't above and beyond. And like I said, there were some moments that kind of lacked, which, you know, brought it down for me. But overall, I'd say the story was about a 7 out of 10. You know, it was a solid murder mystery movie. And with that being said, I'm going to give A Haunting in Venice the Salty Popcorn Award. Overall, I think this is a solid movie with some good horror elements, a decent storyline, and kind of a semi-enjoyable time at the theaters. Maybe if you have some friends and, you know, you get yourself some popcorn, because popcorn's always good, especially when you're watching The Equalizer 3. No, but if you're just looking for a decent mystery movie with some horror elements, I'd say you should probably go watch this in theaters. Anyways, guys, with all that being said, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next video. Peace. Thank you all for watching this movie review, and stay tuned for next week as we are going to be watching The Expendables 4. Now, I haven't even seen the first 3 yet, so I'm going to have to catch back up on those before I watch this one. Otherwise, it'll be like A Haunting in Venice Part 2. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to be checking that movie out next week. And, you know, leave any comments down below if you want me to watch anything or if there's any videos you want me to make. But with that being said, you know, like, subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And thanks for watching this video. Peace.